name is Aaron Naparstek. I'm the founder of Streetsblog.org. I'm currently living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I'm a visiting scholar at MIT's Urban Planning Department. Streetsblog covers transportation and urban planning policy in New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Streetsblog Capitol Hill covers federal transportation policy too. I started up Streetsblog in the spring of 2006. The goal at the time was really to try to reform New York City transportation policy, which really had been stuck in gridlock, literally and figuratively. Basically, New York City transportation policy at the time was completely oriented around accommodating the motor vehicle. And it had been that way for a good 80 years. There were a lot of ideas in New York that had been discussed for a long time. So ideas like making Times Square car-free, at least along Broadway, in the very center of Manhattan. There are ideas like physically protected bike lanes, sometimes get called cycle tracks. These ideas were talked about for a long time, but were considered politically impossible. And one of the things that Streetsblog was able to do was to sort of show that these ideas were working in other places. These ideas could work in New York. The blog actually had a lot more success and impact than we even expected. Streetsblog has really been able to put transportation policy on the civic agenda at a much higher level than it had been before. We were approached by advocates in San Francisco who really wanted to see Streetsblog in their city. We were approached by advocates in Los Angeles who wanted to see Streetsblog in their city. So it's been a kind of natural expansion to other cities, as well as other people have wanted to bring Streetsblog in. Today, we have about 450 bloggers in the Streetsblog network. We're talking about millions of page views and hundreds of thousands of visitors every week. Blogs can be a really powerful platform for elected officials to use. And an example is Mayor Mallory, the mayor of Cincinnati, has really been able to use Urban Cincy as a platform for the Cincinnati streetcar project and other great livable streets projects. So in a place like Cincinnati, Urban Cincy becomes, in some ways, Mayor Mallory's biggest fan base. And I think, smart elected officials are beginning to see, hey, this blog represents a very engaged constituency that I can work with. And if I work with them, that's going to be great for me, because these people are super engaged, and they will notice that I am on their side. I think a lot of times elected officials are afraid of bloggers. It's a blogger sort of combines an elected official's two most scariest things, which is a journalist and an engaged citizen who really cares about his or her issue. So a blogger, like a streets blogger, is in some ways potentially an elected official's worst nightmare. But what I would suggest to elected officials is that they should not be afraid of these livable streets bloggers. I mean, these are people who are really working and interested in making their communities better. The elected officials that are really starting to work with blogs and just reach out to them and communicate with them, and even participate in the comment section, reply on Twitter every once in a while. This is really good stuff for elected officials to do. I mean, it keeps them engaged with an audience that is really interested and will come out and support them. My feeling is that the Streetsblog network really represents a movement, a really powerful movement in America today, of people who are really interested in reshaping and re-envisioning their cities. What we're trying to do now with the Streetsblog network is find a way to get these people who are so interested on the local level engaged at the state level and at the federal level as well, because we feel like the Streetsblog network is just a very powerful movement that is kind of there to be tapped.